for the past couple of years, we've been working on developing a suite of units and assessments so that we can basically work on proficiency in the classroom. A way to do it, rather than relying just on the book, we set learning targets, and what I'm going to show you today is what we've come up with. And it's a work in progress. Everything's a work in progress. We make changes and tweaks all the time. But for you guys, the learning target for me today is that you are going to be able to use our unit assessments and the rubric in order to show that you've met the Kentucky World Language Standard. And everybody got that in your packet today. I have handouts up here for you guys who are coming in late. There are 4 different pages, so if you want to grab those. I've broken it up into 2 sections. One is that you can access and use the documents. I'm going to give you all the URL where you can get to them, and that you can use the rubric. We'll work with that. And there will be plenty of time for questions so that you guys will be able to get anything you want answered. At the end, you'll have my email. It's also in your book. I'll answer any questions that you have. But in terms of the world language documents, they are available for anybody worldwide to get to. I've shortened it because it's on the SkyDrive, it's in the cloud. This is the JCPS World Language Assessment document, http://bit.ly, bit.ly/Q_YZOVR. And if you don't get this written down, or if it doesn't come up right, go to the conference wiki, and it's on the conference wiki as well. I've already put it there. I think I've tested it. I think it works. I've also given you access to shared documents I put on my SkyDrive, and these are things that I use in my classroom. They're things that I have been using for a couple of years so far. I have my level 1 materials there for units 1 and 2. I will be putting my level 2 and 3 things there as I get to them. The first unit for level 2 and 3 I'd never taught before this year, so I wasn't sure what I would want to put there and what I wouldn't, so I haven't posted anything yet. But as time goes on, I'll be posting things to this. All the materials are for Spanish because that's what I teach. But if you teach another language, all you have to do is go in, take a look at it, and put your language in instead. Some of the activities will work for you as well. Okay, and I'm going to show you what it looks like in a little while, what each of these SkyDrives look like and how to navigate around. Okay, has everybody got those? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I go into that site and I get something about maniac who shot 2 rookie soldiers.
Yes, that was happening yesterday, but when I click on it, it goes to my SkyDrive. It's very strange. Go to the wiki for the conference, and it's kwla.wikispaces.com. kwla.wikispaces.com. And if you've got your computer, make sure I'm giving the right information there.
And Randy said it's not up yet. They've got a post on this one.
I've actually posted my stuff to that, and I can get to other.
He just said that this morning.
Yeah, I don't know. I got to it yesterday and I posted to it, so check it. Are you checking it, sir?
Yeah.
Did it come on?
Yeah.
There's also a link on the
Is there a link on the website? Yeah, I tried to get to the link. I couldn't find the link yesterday. But no, this thing is super slow. But when I connect using this one, let's see if I get the lunatic or if I get, because I had people who had the same problem yesterday and I'm not quite sure why. Because I get my SkyDrive. This presentation is up there as well. The presentation is up there as well. So do you? And it works? Okay. What you'll find up on the SkyDrive for Jefferson County assessment documents, which is not, this is my SkyDrive, are all of the learner profiles. This is the level 1. If you've seen our learner profile in the past, for level 1, it was really colorful. There was a different color for each unit. And this year we decided that for year 1, all of the materials would be a green color. For year 2, all of the materials are a red color. And year 3, they're purple. Next year, we'll probably pick another color for year 4. But we break each unit up into a theme. The first one for level 1 is nice to know you. The second one, who am I? Third one, what do you like to do? And the fourth one, my school life. And then there's a 1B, a second semester or second trimester, whatever you guys are working with. And those have talking about family, going to a restaurant, I missed this, hanging out, and the 8th one is going shopping, primarily for clothing. So this is year 1, and you notice it's in 4 units. When I taught in trimesters, and I had a hard time getting to the 4th unit until I got a lot of practice with it, and finally last year I started getting to the last unit, but I didn't cover it in the depth that I covered these. So since we are in Jefferson County running on trimesters, semesters, block schedules, 7-period days, 6-period days, we have kids on all different kinds of schedules, we decided on levels 2 and 3 to go to 3 units. So if you're at a semester school and you can get through the 3 units and have a couple weeks left, I don't know about you guys, but as a teacher, I can come up with lots of different things to add to it. It's just hard to figure out what to take away. Yeah.
All right, so 1A is
Like a semester or trimester. Semester or trimester. Exactly. And so if you're in one of those schools that has the block where you're just on a semester for a whole year, then you would do 1A and 1B in a semester. At least that's the theory. As a teacher, I'm not sure I'd be able to get through all of that. Not in language. Is anybody still on those?
we have to start 4th block like that.
Oh, is it? So you just have it for a semester?
Yeah, it's a 90-minute class
Yeah.
for the semester.
It's hard, isn't it? Yeah, I've done that before. So this is the year 2, and this is just the first semester. All of these are structured the same way. We tell the kids what they should be able to do here, and then each unit has separate can-dos, broken down into what they understand when they listen and read, what can they do speaking, and what can they present. And year 3 is the same thing. Year 2 units are everything from entertainment to going to the doctor to somebody coming in. Southern hospitality, we call it, because we have a lot of people, we're in Louisville, so we have a lot of people who travel to Louisville. If we have visitors and you're working at a hotel, what are you going to tell them to do? Because we have people who come in who speak Spanish, right? And then level 3, the first semester is relationships between you and me. We have the arts and me, and then we have pack your bag. So in the 3rd year, we're going to do a travel unit. And then, on the same website, after learner profiles, we have all of our assessments. This is the assessment for level 1, unit 1, presentational writing. Okay? You go back, if you look at what you have in your hand, and if you don't, they're up here on my table, you can come grab them. There's one for each level and then a rubric. You can go to writing. If you go to writing, on level 1, unit 1, the green one, you'll see these can-do statements. I can introduce myself, I can write my age and birthday, I can tell where I'm from, I can write my phone number, and I can write the date and time. Those are reflected here. Tells the kids what your learning targets were. We also tell the kids where they are expected to fall on the rubric for this assessment. This is meets expectations, this is approaches, and this is exceeds. For a level 1 class, if they get over here, they're not in the right class. right? And I don't know about you guys, but sometimes they're sticking native speakers of Spanish into my Spanish 1 class. Let's do what's right for the kids, right? Makes me extremely happy. And then those same can-dos are here, but just telling the kids bullet by bullet what they have to do. But we set up each thing with a scenario. Each of the assessments has a scenario. And this particular one says you just got on the school bus. There's this really cute person from Bogota, Colombia on your bus, and they don't speak any English. And you're not comfortable speaking Spanish yet, but you think you could write a note to this person. So you're going to write a note with some information about yourself, reading, name, age and birthday, where you're from, phone number, and say goodbye. If you can say anything else, say it. And this lets, I do have kids this year who actually had Spanish in middle school, and they know some Spanish already. This gives them the opportunity to actually do that, exceed their expectations. Because I'm not limiting them. We're always, in our assessments, always trying to tell them, do more if you can. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys where these files are. Wait a minute, that's not what I want. This one. So, this one's mine. This is what the SkyDrive looks for the JCPS World Language documents. Okay? The rubric that you've got is right here, the color rubric. The black and white rubric is here. They're all in PDF format. I have copies of the black and white one if you were to want to take those with you. I just kept them out in case I ran out of copies. So I'll be happy to hand those out. The learning maps, those are the learner profiles. Those are the green, purple, red, and documents. Those are here. And those have 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, and 3A. We don't have 3B on there because we're still working on it. 3B doesn't come up. Well, it might come up in October. I don't know. We're going to have to find out about those trimester schools. But sometimes on these, there's only so many hours in the day, and we're working as hard as we can to get these done. And all the people working on these are actually teaching in the classroom. Nobody's working on them who is not in the classroom. So we're developing all of these things because we're using them. And we're not, it's unlike some other discipline areas in our district where somebody is sitting in an office and telling me what to do. It's actually people who are using it who are coming up with it. So this is what we've got so far on these profiles. I go back to the documents. I'll show you under beginning language. It's kind of slow.
Yeah. The ones that are still zero content, are they still zero?
For levels 1 and 2, every unit has assessments. At least level 1A has all the stamp sheets and all of the unit outlines. I think this summer I actually worked for 20 days on formatting and making sure there were documents for each one of these things. So they're there. It's just the only person who can upload them is Thomas,
Right.
and he just hasn't loaded them yet. Believe me, I want them for developing too because I'm starting that unit, and I need to have. But
So there were a few overview pages that weren't there.
They're there. They're just not here.
Okay.
I actually have them like on my computer, so I'm like in better shape than a lot of teachers just because I helped develop them. But they're available. It's just I have to get Thomas to load them up.
Oh, okay. Because I went this last week.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be pushing to get those level 2 things up or the unit 2 things up because we're getting to unit 2. It's time.
Okay.
But if you look, there's a unit overview, and I'll click on that. I don't have one of those open. I'll show you what that looks like. The unit 1 stamps, and then here you notice we have French, German, and Spanish. Okay, those are the 3 languages where we have people using these documents in our district. Recently I had a Latin teacher say, I want to use them. I formatted them, and I said, Thomas, can we put them up? and he wants to talk to the Latin teachers about it, because obviously a scenario for giving your phone number is not as applicable in a Latin classroom because they didn't have telephones in Rome. I'm going to open the unit overview. If you click on the document, it should come on. Oh, there we go. You just download the document, and really it's faster than that at home. Pardon? You have one printed? Okay. This is what it looks like. This is what a unit overview looks like. And here, these are what you find here. Okay? And then for each unit, this is the essential vocabulary. And this is like grammar structures and culture that you want to give to your kids. The thing about it is, you say, oh, that's not very much vocabulary. It's not necessarily all of the vocabulary. It's just like the critical vocabulary. In my classroom, sometimes my kids go, because I give them a vocabulary list that's this long. I'm not giving them that because I expect them to learn 850 words. I give them that because over time, say if we're talking about activities, thank you. I have this one open actually. If we're talking about activities, there are kids who like to hunt and fish. And then there are kids who like to go play basketball, play sports, and they have never seen a fishing hook in their life. And that really is not within their frame of reference. So if they are going to do something that they're going to remember, if it means something, that'll work. But if it doesn't have anything to do with their life experience, they're not going to remember it. So I give them long lists because even in my urban school district, there are kids who run the gamut. Because some kids do like to do that hunting and fishing. The stamp sheets, there are teachers who, I've tried, I can't use them in class, but there are teachers who use these with their kids, like they have the kids come to them and demonstrate that they can use them. But I've been using these to help me guide daily instruction. Which ones of these can-do statements do I want to work on in my class today? Do I want to be able, my kids to be able to ask where are you from and tell where they're from today? Then those are my goals for the day. These, for Unit 1, Level 1, are real similar to what you find here. When you get in the upper levels, you may have to, what we call, unpack them because some of the can-do statements are pretty dense and you have to do small steps to get to that bigger one. So the stamp sheets can help guide you. You can use them with your students, or you can just have them for yourself. And these are available as well. And like I said, all of the assessments for levels 1 and 2 are available. They're just not all posted yet, and they will be. I also gave you the link to my documents. And like I said, there is nothing here yet, just because I haven't put it here yet. Because I just taught those units, and I want to think about what I actually would want to post. I don't want to just post anything and everything, and some of it didn't work very well. But here, I have level 1, Unit 1 posted, I have Unit 2 posted because that's what I've been working on. And as soon as I get to level 3, I'll start posting that stuff. And then I have activities, things that would be useful for any level. And that's available as well. Are there questions yet? Anybody have questions yet before I move on? Okay, so let's say we've given this assessment, this presentational writing assessment. Our kids sat down and they wrote hola, me llamo, and they have all of their stuff written out for you, and you are going to grade them. What are you going to use? We use the rubric. The rubric you have in front of you is one not just for level 1. The rubric is for 1 through 4.
It's on here.
No, that's the old. That's the previous one. Well, I mean, it just depends on what you want. This.
And I've got
Here, let me grab one of those, please. This is the newest iteration. Like I said, we are constantly changing this. We changed it this year. There are not 3 rubrics, there are not 2 rubrics, there is 1. This is for everything, presentational and interpersonal. It's not for an interpretive yet. We don't have one of those. We're still working on that. But what I want you to be able to do is have a good idea of how you're going to be able to use this in class. This is based, this rubric is based on actual standards of what students are able to do or what language learners are able to do at novice, intermediate, and at advanced low level. We developed some of our own. We said, oh, this is not working very well, that's not working very well. We looked at what some other people did, combined some language, and this is the most recent thing we're using. If you look at it, you'll notice green for level 1, red for level 2, purple for level 3. This is our learning target for the end of the first year, end of the second year, and then the third and fourth year. Okay? That's the meets expectations target. This is what we're going to look at. This section of the rubric is what we're going to look at with the assessment that I showed you. Because it's a level 1A, first unit assessment. So we'll look at this one, because realistically, if a student has never had language before, there is no way they're going to go anywhere past this. And for that first assessment, it's really going to be right in here. This is the section of the rubric that shows our 3 targets, and it's a strong visual, I think. I would like to have a poster in my room. We haven't gotten that far yet, but I'd like to have a poster in my room with that rubric that kind of shows the kids so that they have that visual in front of them all the time. Yes?
So when you give a test, do you attach a copy of this to the test as you, I mean, you're scoring each and every assessment with this rubric, correct?
Yes.
So did this become a page in the assessment?
I wish I had my other back. I gave a test on Thursday before I came up here. I handed each kid the assessment that I wanted them to do. I handed them all a sheet of paper because I'm obsessive compulsive and don't like all the little edges on my paper. I want to have a smooth paper, and then I handed them a black and white copy of the rubric. I don't like to put it on the back. I like them to have it there. That's just my opinion on this thing, because I want them to be able to look at what they're required to do. If they need to refer to the rubric, okay, I want to do this, have I done this? And then I put them all together, and when I grade them, this goes on top.
Okay.
Because I want them to see where they're falling, and I don't want them to, the very first thing they see is a bunch of yellow marks, or red, or pink, or whatever the highlighter I use. I don't make corrections on the test. I highlight it to tell them what they need to work on. And one of my policies on these assessments, with the exception of the semester final and the year-long, the end-of-year final, they can come back and redo this as many times as they need to. As long as they keep on practicing, they can come back. Because it's not that on this day they can do this, but that they can do this before they leave.
Do you give them a time frame? If you
Well,
want to do this, you have to get in a week?
No, in the past I have not, because I've been on the trimester. It just has to be before the end of the trimester. And honestly, if a student came back the next trimester and said, I can do this better, I would let them do it and go down to the counselors and change their grade. That's the way I feel that all the students should be dealt with, because if they've learned the material, we should honor what they know. It's not about when they know it, it's that they know it.
I think that also motivates them,
Yeah.
because they know, if they're not digging a hole that they haven't had, it's what motivates them.
I think so too. In my new school, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, because every 6 weeks we actually post grades, and then they average all those 6 weeks grades together. And I'm probably going to end up going down and changing grades after the fact, and they probably are going to get mad at me, but I'm not sure that I care. Yes.
Now, your missing grades, how do you convert this to letter grades or number grades?
And this is also on the SkyDrive. For level 1, and we decided on letter grades because the number that's assigned to it varies from school to school. There's nothing that's standard in our district. And oftentimes within a school, teachers give different number grades. Like the last school I was at last year, 93 to 100 was an A for me, but 90 to 100 was an A for the other teacher. So the number we put on it varied. But we've decided that if it meets expectations, which for level 1A, first semester is novice mid, it's a B. It's novice high for here. So if you meet expectations, that's a B. If you approach expectations, it's a C. And if you exceed expectations, it's an A. Okay? The way I'm doing that this year is if you get an A, you get 100. If you get a B, it's a 90, which is kind of in the middle of B, because 93 is an A, where I am now. If you get a C, I put in an 80. And that's actually a lower C, but I think it should be. Because it literally is, you should, by the first assessment, be able to do this if you're doing your work. It's not that difficult of a task after 4 to 6 weeks to do that task. And as you go along, you notice we start getting D's, and then U in our district is what you call is an F. A U is an F. I put in for a U a 50 in my classroom. I'll put a 50 in. But if they are only, in my classroom, if they're only approaching or they're not meeting expectations, I tell them, I don't say you can come back, I say you need to come back. That's what I tell them. Do they always come back? No, because I cannot force them to come before or after school. But I can encourage them a lot by saying you need to come back instead of saying, oh, you just got a U, I'm so sorry for your luck. I don't understand that. You know, the teachers were proud of, oh yes, 25% of my students failed. Your students failed? Who was teaching them, and what were you teaching them? I don't think that our goal should be to fail a certain number of students. My goal is that all of my students meet or exceed the expectation. That's my expectation, that's what I want my students to do, and if they can't do it, I'm trying to figure out a way to help them do that. Does that mean that I have students whose meets expectations may not be exactly what this is on here? Really it is, because I've had students who have disabilities in my classroom. I have a student who does not hear well. So far he is doing fine. But if it comes down to the fact that something he says is not quite understandable, I can't penalize him for that, because in English sometimes the things he says are not quite understandable. It's a little bit, you know, you've heard hearing impaired people talk. It's not the same as somebody who is not. So I can't penalize a student for that. So I can make adjustments, and I most of the time do that in my head. I know what I want to do. I'm not penalizing any kid for what they can't do. Somebody else had a hand up a minute ago. Yes.
But she has a question. That's fine.
Okay.
I have a question. How do you feel that this continual awareness of assessment influences the goal of meaningful communication?
On the part of the teacher, or on the part
On
of
the part of the student.
On the part of the student, honestly, like in my first year classes, I don't think the students quite get that yet. Just because they just started. But I know in the past, when I've worked with kids, they're like, okay, so what do I need to do to exceed expectations? They'll ask those questions now. It's, what do I need to do to get better? I don't put A, B, C on their paper. I put ME for meets expectations, EE for exceeds expectations, and AE for approaches, and DNM does not meet. That's what I put. Over time, I'm convinced that it's going to change what the students are going to do. And I've got a lot to think about from the conference because I've been, heard some things. So I probably am going to be making adjustments. I'm always learning. I'm not the teacher who says, I've done it this way all the time, so I'm never going to change. So I probably, in fact, we're here next year, I probably will tell you a little bit different thing. But I think ultimately it's going to change what kids are able to do. I know that they're able to do more with the language doing it this way. And some of them are a lot more excited about it. Yes?
When you let students take the test like until the end of the trimester, do you reteach with them? Is it like unlimited tutoring?
It's their responsibility.
So they just come in and you won't like say wait till the end and say let's go over this again now take it?
No, it's just that in order to learn it, it's not that I'm teaching it, it's that they actually have to take ownership and learn it.
So you're not constantly tutoring and tutoring till the end. If they want to come in and take the assessment, they can try again.
Yes. I mean, if I had all the time in the world, I would have a tutoring session after school every day. But the reality is I don't. So I don't do those tutoring sessions.
So it's on them to.
It's on them. They have to, the only way they're going to learn to speak a language, like Van Patten was saying this morning, the only way to learn a skill is to do the skill. And so the kids have to learn it.
Do you use an assessment sheet with pretty much everything they're doing? Or do you have activities where they're just talking in pairs? And
No, I don't use an assessment sheet with everything they're doing, just because that's a lot of paper. And, I mean, I already had one girl go, Miss Magnola, do you like trees? But I didn't, I said, well, do you want me to hand you a book? Oh no, I like the trees. So it's not handing them a book. So I have to make a lot of copies of things. I pull things from the internet a lot. In my 3-4 class, I've used tons of music. Because when you're talking about relationships, what are songs about? It's about relationships for the most part. So we listened to a lot of music in the first unit. We talked about pickup lines in the first unit. They loved talking about pickup lines, by the way. Yeah.
I was going to ask if you use a self-reflection kind of sheet at the end of an assessment and maybe prior to retake.
I haven't done that. That would probably be a really good practice. I did with my 3-4s, ask them to do a self-assessment before they took their written assessment, or after they did it. I said, take a look at what you wrote and you grade yourself here. Because I want to get an idea of what they understand about the rubric. The first year I've had any of these 3-4s, it's the first year they've done this. And they know enough about the language right now to be able to look at this and kind of figure it out. I haven't asked the ones to do it because, like, I had level 1s do lingua folio last year, and I had level 1 kids say, oh yes, I'm intermediate low. I can do all of this. Click, 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 click. Because it's so easy just to click. They don't understand what they're clicking. So I need to train them to do that. I probably am going to train my 1s starting this year to do more of that self-assessment because it will help them. Allie Moeller's out in I think it's Kansas, has done some research and she's found that that actually makes a difference in what the kids learn. I had somebody else say that.
So with these units, you don't use a textbook?
Sometimes I do.
But you don't give it to the students that might be
No, I have 3 class sets. And if I'm in a level 1 class, if I find something in a level 3 book that I think would work, I would pull that level 3 book down.
But they don't have books.
They don't have books to take home, no.
So, do you have, would you link some of the internet sites? I don't know, I've gone to Sunderland and some of the British schools and gotten stuff, some of those places. Do you have some in particular that you found useful that you put on your?
Yeah, I actually have, are y'all familiar with Digo? I have a bunch, if you look for, I can't remember, in a little while, at the end, I'll look and see what my Digo name is. You can look for me and then like friend me on Digo, and I have a bunch of links, and they have tags on them, like music, if I found a music site. Last week for homework, I told my level 3s, we're gonna be working on art starting next week, find some websites that we can use during this. Some of the websites were total junk, but there were a couple of websites they came up with that I was going, oh, I'm so happy, because there's a ton of stuff on the website that we can use, and not just for music. So I'm always looking for new things. Yeah, I will look and give you my DGO. I might even post it on the thing because all of my links are there. What time is it? 11:21. So I'll answer questions about grades. You notice there's a minor focus on here. I don't use this one at a time because I'm actually looking for what students can do. What are you able to produce? This down here, in some ways, is looking for where they're making their mistakes. When I use this section is when some students, their errors in grammar are just really atrocious, and a kid doesn't understand why they can only be understood with difficulty. I can circle this and say, here is the link. This is why you can't be understood. Or if a student has written something that's wonderful, they have a rating up here in intermediate, but they didn't do the task I asked them to do. They did not demonstrate they learned what we were working on. Then I will mark their rating down, not because of what they did on the task, but because they just didn't do the task. Or I might tell them, you didn't do the task, you got to redo this. Just give them a 0 on it. But they need to be able sometimes to see this. A lot of times I don't even bother with it. The newest thing we have on here is additional feedback. I really wish I had time to write additional feedback for all of the writing assessments that I get, but it's just, from time constraints, I don't. But for the speaking, I use this a lot. When I was doing the interpersonal speaking with kids, as they were speaking, I would be writing notes, and then they had and I can say, oh, you're having trouble with numbers, you need to go practice those. Practice your numbers and then come back to it and do this again. So going back to this assessment, we have the school bus, right? They have to write a greeting for somebody. And I did this in English. If you got this one, hi, I'm Liz, I'm 16 years old, I'm from Antarctica, my phone number is this, my birthday is that, goodbye. Looking at this part of the rubric, where would you put them? First place I'm going to guide you is to the form construction, because those are hallmark pieces of what a novice can do at each level. So are they is this person just using simple words? Or are they using words, phrases, and occasional sentences?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think they're using words, phrases, and occasional sentences. Okay, then to move up, are they creating original sentences here?
No.
No. So that tells you novice mid, because they're not original sentences. They're not taking things that they've learned and making it their own. Everything is, okay, my teacher told me to say this, I say, I'm Liz. The format is I'm years old, and I put a number in there. Right? And by the way, on numbers, when they're practicing, I tell them, write this number out so that you learn the number. But in a real world life situation, you do not write the SE says. You don't write the word 16. You just don't do it. You don't write the phone number 93. You don't do that. You write the numbers. And that's what I tell the kids. Write the numbers. Do what's authentic, not what is going to say, oh, I know this. And how you know they can do the numbers is you test their speaking. Can they speak? Do they understand the numbers when you give it to them? When you tell them to go to page 85, then they go to page 85. And sometimes I do that in the book. So look at this. Oh, wait. Get the rest of this. Small number of repetitive words, limited number of words and phrases, familiar words and phrases, and elaboration. What do you think? Are they elaborating at all? No? But are they using just a small number of words? No. I think they're starting to fall in mid. Is it way far in? I tell the kids this is 0, and as you come over here, it's a whole lot, right? And sometimes I'll tell them, you're right about here. So for a kid, I would put novice mid here, but I tell them they're just right here. They're not just, they're putting the words together and they're making this into a sentence. And then comprehension does not come in here. They're not responding to anything. So the other one is comprehensibility. How well can this person be understood? They can be understood because it's clear. The English is good, right? Here we go here. Hey, my name is Liz. I'm 16 and my birthday is April 4th. My telephone number is 938. What's your name? Goodbye. So look at form and structure. Are they using words, phrases, and sentences? Yeah. Are they really creating with language yet here?
They're doing sentence combining.
They're combining some stuff, but it's really not anything creative. They ask a question, which is good. I like that. They've asked a question, but that's a question that you've memorized. Everything here is pretty much memorized. Even the and will be memorized at this point. So I would say this is still falling in novice mid. It's comprehensible. There is no problem understanding what they're saying. So we go down here. Hi, me Liz, 16 years. I'm from Antarctica, 938. What is 938? Okay, I don't know what that is. Birthday, 4 April. Bye.
Wow, that was really creative.
It says bye, right? Bye. Bye. Right? So, is this one a little bit harder to understand? Yeah. And are they using, do they use an occasional sentence? Kind of, but not really. I would put this one under novice low just because there's not enough there. There aren't really phrases. It's just some words this person's figured out. Yeah.
It's more like tweeting.
It's more like tweeting, yeah. Yeah, more like that, yes. Yeah, you're right. And I had my level 3s tweeting. They loved it. At least the ones who like to tweet. Yeah.
This assessment is at the end of Unit 1.
Right.
Right. And how long does it take to get there?
It's a function of who your kids are,
Yeah.
what schedule are you on, and what the kids knew before. Okay? A lot of kids have had some Spanish before, so this is easy. I took about 4 weeks on my semester class before I assessed this. But even on when I had a trimester class, it took me 4, maybe 5 weeks. Sometimes it takes long. I'm convinced it's not the number of minutes, it's the length of time and days that matters.
Is this high school or middle school?
This is in high school. I'm doing it in high school, but if I were in a middle school and I were teaching 6th grade and that was the first year they had it, I would do the same thing. I might adjust some of the assessments because the scenarios really read, some of the scenarios really read high school, right? Especially when you get to the level 3, I wouldn't ask an 8th grader to talk about their boyfriend or girlfriend, despite the fact that they've got a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? I would ask them more about their family relationships in a level 3 class. Yes?
How do you deal with the fact that they might have memorized these things for the assessment, but at the end, what they forgot it? Maybe they used to could say what kind of sports they like to play, but I forgot how to do that. The memorize for the test.
Yeah, it's all the spiraling thing. I don't always tell them when I'm giving them that test. The speaking test they know because it takes forever for me to get through those interviews. And I'm more of a fan of the interpersonal interview than I am of a presentational speaking because honestly, how many of our students are any good at presentational speaking in English? So what are we testing? Are we testing their language ability or are we testing their ability to give a speech? Once I'm in a higher level, like I've got a level 3 class this year, I probably will be doing, I will have them do a couple of speeches, maybe 3 or 4 throughout the year because it's level appropriate. Can I have a kid get up and go, hi, my name is this, I'm this many years old, I'm athletic and smart, and I like to play basketball and go to school. That kind of makes sense because sometimes you might do that for a quick introduction of yourself in a class. But giving a speech about your family in Spanish doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Sometimes I give them the option of choosing because some kids would just, no, I don't want to talk to you because you asked me stuff that I don't know how to answer. You know why I do that, don't you? Because I want to see if you can figure it out. Because that's another language learning skill you need, right? It's not just about what you know, it's about what you can figure out. I even start doing that at the earliest level. Because I'm asking you, what is your name? On these assessments that I did for Unit 1, and they were doing pretty much the same thing, but in a conversation, I'd say, where are you from? They go, I'm from Louisville. Where's Louisville? And some of them can kind of figure out what you're saying, even if they haven't had it before. Well, what's your mother's name? Can you convert this cognate, in Spanish you have the cognate mama, and the se llama that we've talked about? Can you figure out that I'm asking you what your mother's name is? I don't know how to answer that. ¿Cómo se llama tu mamá? All I'm looking for is, can they say Brenda?
Yeah, no.
Can you answer the question? And you'd be surprised at the number of kids who can answer the question who've never heard the question before. Some of the kids go,
Yes.
but that tells me, gives me a feel on a class level what these kids are getting. Because I don't know about you, I have 30 kids in a classroom. And I cannot look at each and every one of their faces while I'm talking to figure out if they are getting every day what I'm saying. But when I have the opportunity, I can ask them to kind of get a feel as to where they are in that spectrum. And are they able to do this?
It's a resistance level too.
Right. Well, there's the questions thing. Now, if you have questions, I can show you more assessments for any levels. I can show you things that I'm doing in my classroom if you want to see any of that kind of thing. And I'll answer any of the questions you've got to the best of my ability. If I don't know the answer, I can find out. Yes?
I wanted to ask about the amount of time your students are receiving, like how many minutes?
It varies from school to school. When I was at a trimester school, let's see, 70 times 5 is what? 350 minutes? And that was for a 12-week period. Now I'm at a semester school, and it's approximately 250 minutes per week.
And they have the same language all year?
The same language all year. I'm teaching in a high school, so they're going for that old-fashioned 2-year requirement, right? The counselors are still stuck on that. They still don't quite get that we're more moving toward that proficiency base, but it's a 2-year requirement that these kids are saying, that's what I've got to get. So it's 250 minutes a week for 2 years.
Can they continue if they want to?
Yes. Like I said, I'm at a new school, and they have, let's see, how many? We have 7 level 1 Spanish classes. And there are 6 level 2 Spanish classes, and there is 1 level 3/4. Okay? I believe that there's a required signature to move them from level 2 to 3. I think that's why there are so few. I honestly would probably sign more into 3 than the previous people because my philosophy is different than theirs. I don't think that if you have a C, that necessarily means that you're not doing what you need to do. Because I'm looking at my grades right now, and some of the better students haven't bothered to turn in the homework. They make me count 20% of the grade from homework. Why is that kid not doing homework? Because the kid doesn't need to do homework. Yeah.
On the scenarios that have Skype and all these kinds of things, you obviously don't have to do them in your classroom. And I'm in Somerset, which has a hugely restrictive filter system.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what you, I think yours is a little less restricted than mine is. And I don't know whether you can probably get some YouTube. I can barely get YouTube on mine. I can't get any music. I can't get any media, period.
Let's cry.
I can teach you how to download YouTube.
Well, I can get, you know, I can get some things at home and override these things, but, you know, I'm wondering, you know, what can you get and what do you have to get and what works?
Okay, a lot of the scenarios have things like Skype or Facebook or that kind of thing on it. We don't actually use those. And I don't not use Skype because I don't want to. I don't use Skype because I don't necessarily have somebody for my kids to Skype with. Even if I were having my kids Skype across county, in some periods of the day, our bandwidth shrinks because I'm convinced that at the Board of Education, they run some kind of daily report starting at noon, and it takes until 5 o'clock instead of waiting until school is over. And the system grinds to almost a halt at some of those periods of day. I can get to YouTube in class. I can get to Twitter. I cannot get to Facebook. But like YouTube, I do not count on getting to that in the afternoons, especially because it can sit there. It can sit there like sometimes it's sitting there here. So I always try to download what I want to show the kids in class, just because I don't want to rely on the system. I don't trust it in terms of being available, and I don't want my lesson to be derailed because bozo over here turned something off. And that's happened. I had a sub in my room. I have a wireless drop point in my room, so the sub came in and unplugged the router because he needed to plug in his computer. The teacher from across the hall was freaking out because she couldn't get to the internet and had to come across and tell the guy to plug it back in. Stuff like that happens. And if you're in the middle of class and you are at that point where you need it, and it's somebody unplugged, luckily it's plugged in my room. I've got a good wireless connection in my room. I was so excited when I saw it. But yeah, I don't have that restriction, and I don't know how to answer that. I think it's a ridiculous restriction. There are a lot of things I would like to do in my classroom with my students, and I'm going to start calling them, as Tom Welsh does, personal computing devices.
That's the other thing, right?
Yeah, exactly. I had a class of freshmen, and I'm like, how many of you guys have an iPod Touch? All but 2 of the kids in a class of 28 raised their hands. Do you know how much stuff you could do with an iPod Touch if our kids could get on the network?
I think that we can't access the network.
No, the kids can't access it. And even if the kids could access it, I'm convinced that it would grind the system to such a halt because we don't have enough bandwidth. Because I'm all for a class set of iPads or a class set of iPod Touches. My concern is the infrastructure. I don't think that we have it to support the things that, a lot of the things I'd like to do. Do I have in my mind what I do? I do. Yes, ma'am.
This is a question of process. Like when you're doing your assessment, you give the assessment, and then you have different kids coming up and you're interviewing them. What are the other kids doing?
Okay, that varies.
Okay.
If it's the first day I'm doing a speaking assessment, their task is they're supposed to be practicing. Okay, that's their task primarily. Practicing for that. As time goes on, I'll start giving them vocabulary practice for the new unit. Like in my level 2s, the first unit is entertainment, so we're talking about, you know, do you like to watch ball games? Do you go to movies? Is it music? What do you like to do for entertainment? The next unit is food. Well, they've had a lot of food items. Their task is to look at this long list I've got and start learning new vocabulary. I gave them one practice to like categorize the foods, which ones are proteins, which ones are vegetables, which ones are fruits, because that's making another, you know, organizing things in your brain. The more ways you can have them do that, the better they're going to remember it. Have them draw a picture dictionary. I had my level 1s do that. First unit, who are you? The second unit, the second unit is what do you like? So I gave him a dictionary page. Now draw pictures of these physical descriptions that'll make you remember it and label it only in Spanish. Connect that picture to a word. That'll keep them busy for a while.
You just give them something to work on or finish or whatever while they're
Right.
doing it.
And sometimes I'll just say, bring something to work on for another class, because the process of speaking to them and having them do this assessment gets this material into their brain. I got this email this week, and it was one of those aha moments. There was some research that says that just the process of taking the test is better than a lot of the other things that you can do. So it's not time badly spent. Sometimes it looks like chaos, but you just have to accept. Yeah.
What are some other vocabulary activities you use to help kids just be able to recognize them?
I use a lot of pictures.
I introduce my vocabulary on the PowerPoint, you know, put a picture up, put the word in Spanish, we talk about it. And we always clear the connection. So, like if the word's alto for tall, we talk about altitude and, you know, remember at the close altitude is remember high up. We do that kind of thing, but beyond that, I don't like the book, I don't like the vocab track, I don't like workbooks, I don't like any of that written stuff, and I just kind of am curious.
I like them to describe people they know. Describe somebody in the classroom. If you're putting new vocabulary to something that means something to you, if I have you describe a friend of yours, that description, I mean, it's a useful description. Or describe a person in the classroom. One of the things I'm going to do next week is they're going to have to interview some people. How old are you? What is your name? Just several other things. And then from that, write a description of the person. You might be called on to read one with leaving the person's name out, and everybody else has to figure out who it is. That's something that you could do. I use songs for this unit. I don't know if you know this song, or you know this artist. This guy's name is Prince Royce. Your girls will really like him if you're not using this if you're in a Spanish class. He's awfully cute. He's from New York because he sings in Spanish, and he's got a new English language album coming out too. I've got freshmen walking around with Prince Royce on their binders. It's very exciting. But there's a song called Corazón Sin Cara. You're teaching description words. They use the word linda, bonita, perfecto, flaca, gorda. Pretty, some words for pretty, thin, fat, perfect, and black and white. Morenita and blanquita. So he's using all those words, and there's a closed activity that I got off the internet for it. And I play this song, and they can listen to it and they can understand it. And I use the pictures, and I do my best to describe it in Spanish so that they can figure it out. And I do, like I didn't give them the word lindo or linda, but we did have bonito, bonita. So I do that. Most of these kids know blanco and moreno. So blanquita, morenita, that's just like a diminutive of that. And then perfecto, it's like 99.25% of my students can figure out perfecto without me telling them what that means.
There's another song by, it's a Musicopedia song called Como Es.
Uh-huh.
Have any of you guys heard that? It's so cute and it's real, it kind of sounds like the Beatles, but it's another song like that where it leads, and has a ton of adjectives that include professions and colors and nationalities and all sorts of things. And it's just very cool. Kids beg to hear it.
Is it a song that was written to learn the language? Okay, no, I haven't used that one. I've been trying to, I like those songs, but I try as much as I can to bring in like the real thing, because what I'm trying to do is turn the kids on to these music styles so that they'll start listening to it, because the more of that input they get, the better off they're going to be. Actually, no, this wasn't yours. No, this was yours. And I've adjusted it and added to it and changed it. But here is Yao Ming, right? They all know that he's tall. And then I have Danny DeVito. They recognize him from the movie Matilda, right? So he's short. And then I switched out to Selena Gomez, and then all the little boys like, oh, she's cute, I like her, right? And I had Brad Pitt in here. Apparently that was too much of a reference to my taste. Well, actually this does better for me anyway. So I changed it to Jake Gyllenhaal. They like him. I should have put Prince Royce, to be honest with you, because the boys don't care for him very much. And then, you know, this guy is ugly. And then they recognize this guy, and he's called Big Black. I don't know. But he's big and fat. And that's how I start introducing it. They didn't recognize her. I watched Mike and Molly, and I've seen Bridesmaids, but the kids didn't recognize her, so I'm gonna have to find somebody the kids will recognize. But I was trying to show them the difference between gordo and that gender agreement here. And then I showed them her for thin, and then I used Ryan Gosling for thin, because they recognize him. The girls like him too. And then, of course, some, you know, es fuerte, no es débil. And you can see that. And that's how I started. And I finally changed it to Betty White because the kids would look at my picture of Doris Roberts and they go, is that Betty White? No, this is Betty White. But that's kind of the thing I'll use. And then we'll have them write a description of a boy they know and a girl they know, applying something that means something to them to what they're learning. That's how I link them together. And I give them models like this because where they are is novice. And novice is memorized proficiency, period. Novice is not making things up all on your own. So it's saying, you take this, fill in the blanks. Who's your friend? What do they like? What do they also like? What do they not like? What does their hair look like and what do their eyes look like? All they have to do is switch it out. Yeah.
This is a writing.
This is a writing. I say I have them repeat after me after I heard Van Patten talking today. I think I'm going to do some things a little bit. I'm going to try some different things and see if they work better. Because honestly, I've always been like, they're still not getting it. It's not sticking. After listening to him, it's like, oh gosh, how could I do it differently to fit what he's talking about? And that's why coming to these conferences is so great. Because people are like, oh, you're really a teacher. But I can always get better. I don't want to be the teacher that says, I know everything. I've always been doing it this way. My kids are perfect. They use the language so well, and I don't have to change anything. If you think that, then retire. Because you're always able to learn. And then I ask the kids, did we learn to do this today? Can you do this today? And if you can't do this, do that something for homework related to that. I have to give homework. I don't assign anything specific. I give them choices, and even one of the choices is, tell me what you would like to do, and then if I say it's okay, do that. Because it has to work for the student, because I know that filling in blanks didn't always help me learn that stuff. Is it the way I learned to do it? Yeah, but I don't remember. They must not have given me very much homework because I think I got it done at school. Well, that was all of my homework. The only thing I remember doing at home was math, and I never read the books they told me to read. But that's like an example of that, of like the PowerPoint kind of things I've got. For speaking things, let me go. Kids see what I've got on and they go, oh my gosh, Miss Bagnall, you got a lot of stuff. You're right. You've got way too much. Yeah, I've got things in my SkyDrive for level 1 units 1 and 2. I'm gonna pull this up. And that song, the Prince Royce song. Zambo Basso, are you familiar with this guy? Zambo Basso, Zachary Jones.
Zachary-Jones.com.
Yeah, and I got this from him several years ago. Now he's put it in a book, so you have to buy the book to get it. But you can see the little picture. I'm pulling it up, but it takes forever. But you see here is the activity, and you can use it for more than one level. For level 1, I just use the close. They fill in the blanks. But then they can listen to the song. For like a level 2 or 3, I might not give them the lyrics to start with. I might ask them to listen, because I don't want them to know. I want to know how much they can get without it. And then, for level 1, they have the words they're looking for right here. And then for higher levels, there are comprehension questions or conversation questions already there. And he's got them for all different kinds of songs, all different kinds of music.
I do a song.
You do one song
on
always?
all levels. And,
Yeah.
and they do it, and he has them on every grammar, every concept.
Is that big enough for y'all to see?
Zachary-Jones.com.
But you have to
You
buy
don't
it
need the
now?
Spanish part.
Pardon?
What's up
This
with that?
particular song is in a book that you have to buy now. But like his songs from this year, the most current songs, are on there for free. And he's got a lot more stuff than songs.
Yeah.
He looks at he always has like a current movie thing, where he has 4, 5, or 8 movie posters, and you match the movie poster to the description.
There's all kinds of stuff on there. It's really neat site.
That's PowerPoint. But he's even got, oh, stop it. Spell it right. No, I didn't. But I use this guy because it's current. I don't always have time to keep current. Yeah, and it's actual stuff. Zambo Basso. That's what you want to go to. Zambo Basso. And you can see it's some Via Mexico. This I haven't seen before. It's probably something to do with like the Independence Day this month. Música, cine, tiras, music, movies, comic strips, news, TV, humor, internet, ads, clothesline, and clothesline is where you get the songs. And not only does he have the songs there, like the worksheet, the video is there too.
You said this is something free to use?
Yeah, here it's free. Like, see, all of these are worksheet for this year. I'm guessing that coming up soon, he'll just take these and put them in a book. And you see Clothesline 2010. It's now a book to buy because, I mean, this is actually, some of them are better than others. Like, some of the songs I like better than others. But see here, it's 33 songs from 2010, and it's a donation of $24.95. And it's not a bad donation. You can look inside.
He emails it to you in PDF format so you can download it.
Yeah.
And it's like instant. I mean, you get it like in 20 minutes.
Yeah, so you can see some samples here of what he's got in it, like what songs. So it's not a bad resource to have if you're interested in that kind of thing. And the kids are definitely interested in it. And if somebody knows of something in other languages, then what time is it? 1:55.
French, but
Did he?
they have it French, but it was an experiment for a year.
Really? Yeah. Are there other questions? Because we still have time if you guys have other questions. No, right now?
I have a question.
Yes.
Yeah, how do you marry the lowering of the aperture filter with assessment? Because you were mentioning, like, when you when students get up in front of the class, they go blank, obviously. But you also mentioned whenever you do interactive assessment that they sometimes go blank too. So how do you keep students encouraged about or make the environment such that to aid acquisition and assess at the same time?
What I always try to do when I'm doing those interactive assessments, I always try to make sure that the very last question I ask them, they can answer. Okay? Even if I ask them a question they've already answered before, I want them to feel like they can do something, not leave them with something they can't do. Granted, every once in a while you get a kid who has not bothered to do anything, and you have to test them. You know you've got to test them. So you ask them all the questions. You have to give them the opportunity. And even if I have to ask them that one question they know how to answer, ¿Cómo te llamas? What is your name? But the sad part is, every once in a while, not so much at the new school I'm at, I would get kids who were like, yeah. But like for a presentational speaking, some kids, if they get in front of the class, get really upset. I'll use Audacity on the computer or flip cameras. And while they're speaking to me, they're not speaking to me in front of the class. And they don't have all the other people listening. And honestly, having 30 kids get up and give a oral presentation, oh my God, the kids are like, and they've checked out by the time the third person's doing it anyway. Even if you tell them to write stuff down, they check out. Anything else? I had a question about links. I have a DIGO, which is like a, it's a link sharing, a place where you can share links. Like Delicious. You can do a little bit more with it, I think. I put tags on mine, on my library. This is something I just started doing this summer. DIIGO.com. And I'm A Spagnola on there. And like on Facebook, you can friend people. So if you wanted to look at my bookmarks, you can. So if I go into my bookmarks and I want to find something from level 2, unit 1, something that might be good. Are these all things that I used?
So on the level down on the left there,
Yeah, these are some of my tags. So this way I can access it. If I just put this in there and didn't tag it with anything, it would become impossible. I wouldn't be able to find anything. So I try to put tags on everything I put in. So these are all things that I found that might be useful for the entertainment unit. Some of them, you notice September 21st, these are all these kind of things that my level 3 kids were finding for me that I might be able to use in this unit. So we have Spanish lyrics, and we have music, listen to music free, the best songs in Spanish, and obviously this is Spanish heavy, but if I find something in another language, I do post it. People in Espanol, the lyrics for songs. And see, I put level 2, unit 1, but see, this one would work for unit 1, which is relationships, because it's a song related to relationships. So next year, if I want to use it, I could pull this up and say, oh, I might use that song. I didn't use it last year, I'll try it this year. We're getting ready.
password or anything to
No, I don't think so. It may be set up for you have to request to be my friend. You know, like on Facebook, you friend request. But if you go to where am I? Spagnola. Yeah, right here. Spagnola. If you look for it, if you friend request me, just say I was at your thing, and then I'll give you access to this. I friended Sarah Elizabeth Cottrell. If you're not familiar with her, she has a lot of links to resources that'll be good for use in the class. I recommend looking for her because she uses a lot of technology. Yeah, she has Delicious. She has a Digo too. Yeah, she has a Digo too. And yeah, you don't remember? I'm sure they can tell you. But I actually have set up like world language. I'm thinking about using this with my Spanish 3 and 4, like setting up some links and giving the kids an activity and telling them to go to some websites and have them connect through here. You can actually respond on here, like have a kind of a discussion board here using Digo. I might look at Edmodo because that's more like Facebook and our kids really like that. I haven't used it yet. Yeah, so I think I might use that instead of this.
Can you get onto that at school?
Yes, I can get onto this at school. If I can't use it at school, it's really of little use to me. Yeah, when I told our technology guy that I wanted to use Twitter with I just wanted to make sure the students could get on Twitter. He goes, nobody can get on Twitter. I said, well, yes, we can. I'm on Twitter all the time. He goes, I need to make a call or two. And I'm like, oh my God, I just had Twitter closed off. I can't believe I was so stupid. But apparently it's all good. Twitter's still open. I was able to do my Twitter activity with my kids. So that was good. Yes. Well, exactly. Why can't we tell our kids to text us at some, what you think about this? Why can't we? Yeah. No, I've actually, yeah. Well, yeah, but if you can't get to it in class.
Edmodo has an app on the phone.
There's an app on the phone?
I have Edmodo on my phone.
Do you have to have a smartphone for that?
Well, you can't have a dumb phone for it.
Yeah, of course you do. Well, see, I'm too cheap to pay for data on that, so I don't have a smartphone, so.
But a lot of the kids have a smartphone.
Yes,
so,
they do.
So yeah, there's an app for it on the smartphone.
Yeah, when we were tweeting, I didn't see a couple of things, you know, because the computers weren't working right, and if I don't see it, it didn't happen. So a couple of my kids had to improvise to do their activities. Yeah, it's a good one. When I go back here, I'm going to put up my email, and this link to the SkyDrive works. If it's not working for you, you can't get to it, go to the wiki spaces. It should link to it. If you can't get to my SkyDrive, email me at there, and I will email you the link. And you should be able to get to it. Yeah, that's my SkyDrive, but it wasn't working. It was going to some sort of crazy website about somebody killing somebody.
Yeah, I went to the KWA wiki and went to your presentation, went to your...
that way.
Yeah,
And you were able to get to the SkyDrive?
I actually went through your PowerPoint and clicked on it, and I went straight to your...
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is doing what it's doing. Because it did the same thing yesterday, and it's curious. But what happens in the world of cyberspace is sometimes a mystery to me. That they can do this all with zeros and ones, I just don't get it.
And the
That's on the KWLA website. Yeah, I put everything there because if somebody wasn't able to come, then they can still get to the materials. And like I said, not everything is up there yet. However, it will be up there for level 1 and 2 for sure. If something doesn't show up for level 3 this year, don't be 100% surprised because we didn't get it done before school started. And there will probably be teachers, I'll do this or I'll do that, and kind of playing around with stuff because it's really like the sandbox this year for us for level 3. If you use our materials and you come up with a really great assessment or something, email me. I would love to have it. And if we can make it work, we'll put that one up too, because we're always looking for other ways to assess our kids. Because one way is not always the only way.
Are you is there a way for all of us in the future maybe to share these various PowerPoints and stuff that we're teaching with? So so that we don't have to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, in our district, we're using what's called a Dropbox to do some of that because you're right, we don't need to reinvent the wheel. For my level 1, unit 1, I took all of the different PowerPoints and I just dumped them into one, and they're like 144 slides. For level 2, I have 154 slides, and I've loaded them into my SkyDrive, and that's what I posted there. And that's where you're going to have pictures, like the pictures are tall and short. Doesn't matter if you teach Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Chinese. You can use the picture and change the text. Yeah, the deconstruction for us are those stamp sheets. You're talking about deconstructing the standards and all of that? Those are our stamp sheets. You can't, we aren't English and math. We don't teach majors. Yeah, and that's one of my frustrations is they keep on trying to push languages into that same kind of hole that they put English and math.
Anybody else like doing 12 and 12 performance measures?
I haven't heard about this. Don't tell my district.
There's the proficiency measures, the 8 multiple choice and 1 open response.
Oh, you're kidding me. How does that match?
So that if you go to the calculator.
Well, the open response could be this kind of assessment. It's the multiple choice that's the problem. Yeah, you could do interpretive reading or
I can
listening.
make it fit, but because nothing,
It's just making
mine
you
goes
fit their
again,
assessment
and then it goes into the comparison into the arts and humanities testing.
Oh, and that really fixes the data good.
Yeah, from the past year.
Yeah?
I have to choose mine from the new Common Core standards,
Yeah.
and mine have to support a literacy strand. It's not under arts and humanities, mine is under a literacy strand.
Are you teaching high school?
Yeah, it's.
What about music and art? What are they doing?
We are all under technical, so
Yeah.
We're going to have a program review.
Yeah, no, I know.
Our program review will start next year, the pilot will.
But they throw us all under technical studies, because like you said, math has theirs, English has theirs,
This is for
science is
Jackie,
coming out with
this
new
is
ones.
for Jackie and KWLA. We need to put out some kind of statement to superintendents saying, whoa.
Yeah, and when she can, she does, but we're going to have, what I'm going to tell you is program reviews are coming. The
And I don't
state
mind
is,
that.
yeah, and it's going to have a specific set of criteria and standards,
What's
and
it
that
gonna
will
entail?
fit in.
What's it gonna entail a program review for us?
And
That's what, there's a committee that starts next week.
And see, all that stuff is being done, but why they're having us do things that are gonna be done.
Hopefully that'll change next year, I hope that it does. Yes, I understand. Are there any other questions? Yes,
Is that your real name or is it a professional name?
it's my real name.
Very appropriate.
It's my real name, it's the one I was born with. Yeah. It's not the one my grandfather, this is not the one my grandfather was born with. It should be N-U-O-L-O, but that's the way he changed it. Yeah. So if you have questions, if you have specific questions to you, I'm here to answer them. I'll stay for how much long? I will stay for about 10 more minutes and I have to go check out of my room. So thank you very much for coming. If you'll give the evaluation outside. Have a great rest of the conference. Thank you, She's got it.
I was there for 1 year, that's where I grew up.
I'm teaching.
Building, part-time, building,
Because we had seen, we're the state paid us to do the whole priority. We're doing it anyway, even though they told us not to.
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah. I can buy numbers every afternoon.
Yes.
All the council.
Yes. 4 intern days. I did 2 in December. The day the team said not get paid $20 an hour. Or this is okay.
In college.
I haven't taken it.
On his own now.
Ours was really good. So you have to do it.
That was a
But, well, I'm sure that's but, yeah. He's still working. I answered him last night on Facebook, He's got to write a report. Do I have any sources for it? Yeah, we get the good joke.